Now, from the news team that's covering the Carolinas, this is Channel 9 Eyewitness News Saturday morning.
Breaking news this Saturday morning, airstrikes against Syria. The U.S., U.K., and France have all launched strikes against Syria after a suspected chemical attack.
The despicable attack left mothers and fathers, infants and children thrashing in pain and gasping for air.
We're breaking down what happened since you went to bed, reaction from Syrian refugees in Charlotte, and what local lawmakers are saying. And strong storms are headed our way. We're using Futurecast to pinpoint when they'll arrive in Charlotte and just how strong they'll be. Good morning and thanks for joining us. I'm Elsa Gillis.
And I'm meteorologist Vicki Graff.
And we are starting in the Weather Center this morning because that strong storm is coming right for us.
That's right. Enjoy today. This will be the dry day of the weekend. Lots of sunshine, upper 70s to low 80s. That's what you can expect as we go throughout the afternoon. But then the storms move in tomorrow. Right now, we just updated to 59 degrees in Charlotte. That's slightly cooler than this past half hour. 58 in Salisbury, mid-50s in the mountains. If you're heading out for a walk or a jog, maybe a bike ride, you don't need to worry about the layers. This is a storm system I'm tracking. It's still more than 400 miles west of Charlotte. That's going to move in tomorrow. For today, a mix of sun and clouds. We'll get close to 80 degrees in Charlotte. I'll take you through Futurecast to pinpoint the time frame for when those stronger storms will arrive and what the biggest impacts will be in your neighborhood.
Back to that breaking news now in Syria. At least 3 people are hurt after the U.S., U.K. and France all launched strikes against Syria. President Trump addressed the nation last night and said the strikes follow a suspected deadly chemical weapons attack on residents in the Damascus area. That's long been a target of ISIS. ABC's Molly Hunter breaks down the overnight developments in the strikes and what could happen next.
Overnight, President Trump finally launching airstrikes alongside the French and the British, targeting the Syrian government.
A short time ago, I ordered the United States Armed Forces to launch precision strikes on targets associated with the chemical weapons capabilities of Syrian dictator Bashar al-Assad.
After threatening to do so all week, the U.S. used double the number of weapons compared to last year's strike, hitting 3 different chemical weapons facilities. The Syrian government responding, shooting anti-aircraft missiles above the capital. British Prime Minister Theresa May making the announcement hours later.
But these strikes are about deterring the barbaric use of chemical weapons.
The limited strikes were in response to the horrific video that emerged last weekend, showing women and children frothing at the mouth, struggling to breathe, suffering from a suspected chemical weapons attack by the Assad regime.
These are not the actions of a man. They are crimes of a monster instead.
But that man, President Bashar al-Assad, is largely untouched this morning, tweeting video of himself walking into his office with a briefcase with the caption, "Good morning, resilience." And across Assad's stronghold of Damascus, celebrations. We are not scared of the American missiles, he says. We humiliated its missiles.
3, 2, 1.
But last night's strike, a one-off, according to U.S. Secretary of Defense James Mattis, but he left the door open for more. Now today we're watching Russia. President Putin striking a diplomatic tone, calling for a UN Security Council emergency meeting. Molly Hunter, ABC News, London.
Congressional leaders are supporting the decision to strike Syria. House Speaker Paul Ryan praised the president's action, while top Senate Democrat Chuck Schumer called the strikes appropriate. Some lawmakers say while the move may be the right call, it's not an overall plan to resolve the issues with Syria. Last night, Channel 9 spoke with an international relations professor at Winthrop University. He told us his first concern was these strikes hitting Russian hardware or killing Russians and leading to a larger conflict.
I'm worried about the word escalation. You know, I'm a baby boomer. There was numerous times in the Cold War when we came close to a nuclear exchange. I think from what I've heard so far that they've done a lot of back channel work with the Russians so that no Russian was imperiled by these strikes. So that's a big relief.
Some Charlotte residents from Syria have been asking for strikes against the Bashar al-Assad regime. A few days ago, we sat down with a Syrian refugee family in Charlotte. They begged President Trump to take action against Bashar al-Assad to stop the chemical attacks.
We want Mr. President Trump to end this and solve it.
As soon as the president announced the airstrikes late last night, our local lawmakers began responding. North Carolina Senator Tom Tillis said America's targeted strikes made in conjunction with our allies send the Assad regime a clear and direct message that the use of chemical weapons against innocent civilians will not be tolerated. North Carolina Representative Robert Pittenger told us we must continue to stand up for American values at home and abroad. Under President Trump, the message is clear. If you cross the red line, the consequences will be swift and severe. We reached out to Representative Alma Adams for a statement on the airstrikes, but have not heard back yet this morning. Channel 9 is closely monitoring multiple sources to bring you any new information in this developing story. We'll have continued coverage both on air and online at WSOCTV.com. Breaking in West Charlotte, police are investigating after a driver hit and killed a man who was walking along the Brookshire. It happened around 1:45 this morning near I-85. All outbound lanes are still closed. Police haven't said what led to the crash or if the driver stayed on scene. As soon as we get any new information, we'll let you know on air and online at WSOCTV.com. A father says a student sexually assaulted his daughter, who has special needs, inside a CMS classroom. The father said when the teacher stepped out of the classroom Thursday at Ransom Middle School, another student sexually assaulted his daughter. He says a teacher aide was in the back of the room, but apparently didn't see what was happening, and it wasn't until the teacher returned that the attack stopped.
She thought she was in a safe place. And I know things happen sometimes, but this is just unacceptable.
CMS wouldn't comment directly on the incident due to privacy laws, but sent us a statement saying it's thoroughly examining the incident. A story we're following this Saturday. Gun rights advocates are expected to protest nationwide outside 45 state houses, including those in the Carolinas. Organizers of the National Constitutional Coalition of Patriotic Americans are encouraging people to bring unloaded rifles to the rallies. There are rallies expected outside the North and South Carolina state houses. They're set to start at 2 this afternoon. These protests come 3 weeks after thousands marched in Washington, D.C., New York, Charlotte, and other cities to demand changes to gun laws. An estimated 800,000 people rallied in D.C. alone. And these protests all follow the deadly Florida school shooting. On February 14th, investigators say Nicholas Cruz began shooting inside Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland. 17 students and staff died. This morning, people in York County will raise money to help the families of 4 deputies shot in the line of duty. In mid-January, investigators say Christian McCall ambushed Detective Mike Doty and Sergeants Buddy Brown, Randy Clinton, and Kyle Cummings. Doty died from his injuries. The 3 others survived. The barbecue fundraiser begins at 10 this morning at Trinity United Methodist Church in York. Each plate is $10. Residents are hoping to sell 3,500 plates to benefit the officers and their families. Duke Energy will have to shell out $156,000 for coal ash pollution. The Department of Environmental Quality fined the company for polluting ground surface waters around 3 power plants. The ash is residue left after decades of burning coal and can contain toxic materials. 8 other plants in the state still need to be inspected. The company could face more fines if leaks are found. Nearly 40,000 tons of coal ash spilled into the Dan River more than 4 years ago. A stormwater pipe under Duke's ash ponds at the steam station near Eden collapsed. Investigators are searching for a man they say kidnapped a woman in Catawba County. Thursday, Lori Hull was so desperate to get away, she jumped from Brian Leatherman's truck on I-40. Hull survived, but is severely hurt. Her family says she befriended Leatherman, but he then became obsessed with her to the point she asked for a protective order.
He was determined to get to her no matter what.
Police say before her escape, she was assaulted in his home. Again, police are still looking for Leatherman. This morning, residents will gather to raise awareness of sexual assault in the Charlotte area. The 3rd annual 5K and Zumba event will begin at 10 this morning at the Greenville Center. That's on Spring Street in North Charlotte. Sexual assault survivors will also speak at the event. As thousands of rape kits sit untested in North Carolina, a new bill is trying to give victims some hope. A state legislative committee backed a bill that would set up a tracking system for sexual assault kits. Victims would then be able to follow the kits to know when they've been tested. A February audit showed there are more than 15,000 untested kits in the state. Yesterday, we learned a test of old DNA evidence led to an arrest in a sexual assault cold case from the 90s. Officers arrested Johnny Kimball 26 years after the alleged attack. Police say Kimball forced a woman to the ground and sexually assaulted her as she tried desperately to fight him off. Officers say he also robbed her. Police say the evidence from the case was tested thanks to a federal grant the department received in 2016. It paid for testing for 300 rape kits, adding another criminalist in the lab, hiring 2 detectives to tackle cold cases, and a full-time sexual assault advocate. Turning now to the battle between Dean and DeLuca and its landlord. We've told you the landlord, Phillips Place, claims the store owes them more than $100,000. But Thursday, Dean and DeLuca filed its own lawsuit, claiming the landlord illegally evicted them. It said the landlord changed the locks and wouldn't let employees back in. The lawsuit claims the move cost them almost $800,000 in damage and its Stonecrest location. Phillips Place claims in the lawsuit it sent 3 notices in March saying the company owed them $120,000 and that it warned the landlord may seek possession of the building. All 3 Dean and DeLuca stores in our area have closed. The hunt for a new Hornets head coach is underway. Coach Steve Clifford was fired yesterday. On paper, Clifford may have had the best team this past season than the previous 5 years, but the Hornets had a losing record and missed the playoffs for the 2nd season in a row.
Really hoping that this new coach for the Hornets probably help them step their game up and probably win like a championship.
The new head coach will take the helm after ahead of a big year for the Hornets in Charlotte. The Queen City will host the weekend-long NBA All-Star Game in 2019. That's estimated to bring in $100 million to the local economy. Taking a live look outside right now from our Speedway cam. The time is 7:11. The sun is up on this Saturday morning. Meteorologist Vicki Graff has an update on your beautiful Saturday and stormy Sunday forecast in Severe Weather Center 9.
We're dealing with another split weekend. Get outside, enjoy today. Tomorrow's going to be a different story. We're driving it now on live early warning Doppler 9. This will look different at this time tomorrow as that rain will approach. For today, it's going to be warm and breezy, close to 80 degrees, a really nice start to the weekend. Tomorrow, a different story. That's when we're tracking some storms. Some of them could be strong to severe, and really the time frame for that will be after, I'd say, midday tomorrow. I'll advance futurecast coming up to show you when the storms will arrive and what the biggest threats will be in your neighborhood.
A local hero remembered 2 years after he was killed in a fire. At 7:45 the Ways, Richard Shelter's family and fellow firefighters will honor his life. A couple tied up and robbed in their own home. At 7:30 the Live, police say the suspect told to get inside the home. And after a high school student was killed trying to catch her bus, CMS is making changes. Next, the notice to parents from the district.